War Eagle, War Report family. I'm your host, C-Dub, and tonight is the eve of the NFL draft, and we have a few former Auburn players who are hoping to have their names called this upcoming weekend, so you know we got a lot to talk about. Fellas, y'all ready to talk some football?
Yeah, let's go.
All the guys are ready to go. I hope you are, because we are entering the war room.
You are now listening to the War Report. Wednesday night War Room. Ike Jones. Big Will. C-Dub. Mike G. Let's go!
War Eagle, Auburn family, War Report family, everyone who's joining us live, welcome to one of the best shows, if not the best show on these internets. Welcome, guys. Join in. Please do us a favor, smash the like button, drop a War Eagle in the comments if you're Auburn family. If you're not, just drop your city. We want to hear from everyone out here. And please do us a solid, because we're dropping content on the regular. Let people know that we're out here by sharing our video. If you're on Twitter, please share using @TheWarReport with the hashtag for this week's show, hashtag TWR War Room, and hashtag Get Your Weight Up. That we will appreciate that a lot, as you're letting people know that we're out here dropping great Auburn content in the off season. Mike G, what we got coming down the pipeline, my brother?
What we got is Chop It Up with a Pro Chris Todd Part 3 for y'all. Listen, we had such a good time chopping it up with Chris Todd that we have invited him back to break down quarterback play from A-Day. So if you have not seen one of these, Ike Jones and Chris Todd will be chopping up film again. This time they're going to we've been doing plays from last year. They're going to do the first film that we're getting from 2021, which would be A-Day. So Chris is going to give us his perspective. Ike Jones is going to throw us some knowledge as always. And if you have not ever seen a Chop It Up with a Pro, here's a sneak peek.
The faith is gonna bring that safety down, but that safety did a good job of recovering and picking up the overroute.
What do you need to make sure that you're aware of in case something doesn't happen?
He's got to look back to the left.
Right.
Looking at the center's footwork, with whichever way the center's sliding, he's going to step with that foot first. But the center and the right guard have got to see that quicker.
When you have Tank leak out, Tank is going to catch that ball every time they do it. This overroute that they're running is going to be open.
Ooh, listen, become an insider. This is insiders only. So if you are not an insider, you will not be able to view. You will not be able to partake. You will not be able to break bread with Jones of Ike, Black of Hair, and Chris Todd. So become an insider and join this session with us. These guys, this is a lot of fun for us. This is built around engagement for you guys. You guys get to ask Chris questions, talk about the film. It's a great segment for us. Other than that, our GoFundMe is alive. So if you want to support the work that we do, we appreciate super chats. We love GoFundMes. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel and the merch store. So I've been seeing pictures on social media of guys sporting the merch. You guys look sharp out there in the gear. This is another great way to support our content. So please hit the merch store, and that's all I got.
Big War Eagle to everybody in the comment section. Want to highlight a few people, man. Appreciate that, Philip Coleman. War Damn Eagle, y'all make Wednesdays so much better. Actually, you make our Wednesdays so much better because we look forward to hanging out with you guys. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate that, War Eagle. Best show, no doubt. We appreciate that, man. It means a lot. Also, shout out. This is moving fast. Shout outs to Jonathan Harris. We appreciate that. The one with King and Devin were awesome. They need to be coaching at someone's school.
Yeah, we're advocating for that.
We're really pushing that. Chris Todd as well. There's a few Auburn players who we feel will make excellent coaches. So yes, we're definitely with you on that. Well, yeah, man, we just appreciate everyone in the chat hollering with us, hanging out with us, talking Auburn football. Guys, how are y'all doing, man?
It's Wednesday.
All right, you know what I'm saying? It's
long war room, baby.
It sounds like Monday for some of you guys. Yikes!
Oh man. So yeah, I mean it's Wednesday. We are hearing that player meetings are going on this week. So the coaches are meeting with the players this week. I assume to get feedback from their spring performances, and I'm looking forward in the coming weeks to hearing how things are fleshing out in terms of some of these races. So, we're going to get a lot of speculation about depth chart moving forward. Who's where on the depth chart? So this summer going into workouts, this is everybody's chance, man, to get their weight up one last time before the fall. Because once the fall gets here, it's got to be up. Your weight has to be up, and you need to be ready to throw down. Because Penn State is our third game of the season. Third game, guys.
I've heard that.
It gets real after week 3. So, in case you were wondering.
And I'm real excited about the kids who are not yet on campus, them getting on the campus and getting acclimated and just seeing who pushes who, man. If those kids are able to make some noise, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well as we get into the summer, man. So yeah, man. Shall we get started?
Let's do that.
Man, let's do it. Let's jump in.
Well, again, tomorrow is round 1 of the NFL draft. Of course, round 2 is on Friday, and then the subsequent rounds will be all day on Saturday. So we have some Auburn guys who of course want to get drafted. Of course, we want them to get drafted. It makes Auburn look better when they do. Let's start with the first guy up, man. Y'all know who he is. One of our leading receivers from last year. One of our more productive receivers in previous years. That would be Seth Williams.
Ooh, Seth.
Now those of his numbers there from Pro Day. Actually, when you look at, and of course the article from AL.com showed his highest projection is 3rd round by Sporting News. The lowest round they had him going was 5th. That's by NFL.com and Pro Football Network. And according to ESPN's Todd McShay, he is rated as the number 165th overall prospect, which makes him the number 27th receiver, according to him. So he can go anywhere from 3rd to 5th. I've been seeing people make a lot of comments on where they think he may end up landing, but I want to bring it to our panel of guys and hear from y'all based on what we've watched on film, seeing with him. Where do you think Seth Williams can potentially go based on his ability, based on what we've seen him do at Auburn? Ike Jones, what you got?
I've always said that I thought he was going to be 3rd, 4th round. I could even see him slipping into the 5th round. It just kind of depends on where so I don't know how many of you guys are super NFL fans out there in our fandom or watch the draft. What you see happening is how guys move up and down in the draft is really dependent upon there starts to be a run on talent, right? So like you'll see a bunch of people in a certain positions group start going, and then people will be like, oh crap, is somebody going to snatch the guy I thought was going to be there in the 4th round, right? So if in the 3rd round, you see a bunch of wide receivers start to come off the board, Seth Williams may come off the board a little bit earlier because somebody's going to want to jump up and make sure they can secure the guy they really want, because Seth may be somebody who fits perfectly into that jump ball receiver, big body possession guy that they want. And if you see 2 or 3 of those go off the board, you're like, oh man, he was like our 4th best receiver on the board. So if I see 4 receivers go, then I'm going to jump on that opportunity. So I can see him going as early as the 3rd round. But he's likely going to be a 4th or 5th round guy if I were to give my estimations right now.
B Will, what you got, bro?
I'd say 4th. I think at the pro level, the more of the profiles I've seen, people are kind of giving him some slack because of the passing game in general not being up to snuff. And to me, that says, okay, they're going to give him a pass for some of his production woes. A couple of them would be, it's kind of like anything else we're talking about when it comes to football. One person is not the person to blame for everything. And that includes when you're not the person with the ball in your hand every play. You're counting on the guy with the ball in his hand or your coach to make it easier for you to get the ball and get production. And that wasn't easy for him last year or really the year before that. So everybody has taken note of his ability to leap, his hands, but also his struggle to separate. He can out jump you and fight you. It's like he's going to make a better catch if you're on his hip than that's more likely than him actually running a crisp route and getting separated because he's not sudden enough or fast enough to just depart from people. So he's a mixed bag as far as the different profiles, but at the same time, when you see somebody with that type of athleticism, height, strength, leaping ability, the NFL loves athleticism, man. That I don't see him staying past 4. I had some questions about his attitude at times and his effort at times, but I haven't seen those concerns come up in the profiles, which is
actually surprising.
Yeah, I was like, "That's so." Were y'all watching us? Like, did y'all miss that? Because that was my biggest word for him. I mean, that's good for him. That's good for him. Yeah. I don't want what went on here negatively to affect him. Because honestly, if I am a wide receiver, if I'm doing any job, not forget football, if I'm doing any job and somebody else is making it very hard for me to do my job and making me look bad, I'm gonna be as pissed as he was on the sideline versus South Carolina, guaranteed. Yeah, so I understand that. But I also know that the NFL players, the scouts and the coaches, they look down on that stuff negatively. So they may say, "Look, we don't care what's going on, man. You might have, what's the guy's name who was threw all the picks for the Bills and like 2 stars? Peterman. Peterman might be your quarterback. What you gonna do? You gonna fight him? No, you're not. You're just gonna go back to the sideline or get back on the field and run your next route and get missed, and that's gonna be it. So I am surprised that they didn't dock him for that. But I'm glad they didn't because he gets a chance to start over with some professionals and some people who I think will be holding the offense a lot more accountable for his sake. So 4th, I'm with Ike. I say 4th. 4th is kind of like best and worst. I mean, worst he could slide to 6th or 7th, but man, those measurables are very, very good. His measurables are too good to pass up on. So now I'm feeling like 4th.
Yeah, I'm feeling like 4th too, B. I'm really feeling that way. And we got, before we get to Mike G, Mike G's got some stats and some info he like to read out. But before I get to him, I think some of his information may address some of the comments I've seen. Shout out to Walt. We appreciate you, buddy. He didn't understand Seth leaving, thinking he actually could have benefited from another year staying at Auburn, perhaps even moving up as high as the 2nd round, which is a possibility. Yeah. With that, Mike G, like what are your thoughts, man? What have you been seeing? What you got sitting over there? Some stats you got?
Well, first of all, I disagree with Brian's assessment of Seth Williams strongly. I think that he is he's sitting here on a 14.5% drop rate, which in this draft is not good. He's got some drops that he has to answer for. Now, we talked about the mental part. I wonder with them not having a combine, if they went through the same sort of interviews they would have gone through at the combine, right? Yeah, and how that process may have changed a little bit because what we know is that it's intense, right? They ask you a lot of questions. They dig into your personal life. And when they look at the film, you got to have answers, man. And we in our chop it ups, we've looked at some of these drops, wide open, game changing drops. They just weren't good. He's got a 30% contested catch rate. That's low versus his peers, man, in this draft. So, for me, I think 4th round, anything higher than 4th round, somebody's really seeing something that is not there currently, but could be. right? I mean, anything higher than fourth round, you're drafting on potential. And with the receivers that are available in this draft, I don't even really think you need to do that. So to me, he's a fifth or sixth rounder. He struggles to get separation down the field. And again, with a 30% contested catch rate and struggling to get separation, life in the NFL is going to be pretty hard for you. So, he's got some measurables. He's got some athleticism. Now, I read, Pro Football Focus had an interesting write-up on Seth, right? They say he's a gifted leaper, and he makes some absurd catches. These are under his pros, right? Mm-hmm. He's got a special highlight reel, which, I think that's stuff, again, check mark. I'm not arguing that. Defensive backs bounce off him. He generates yards after the catch. I think that's accurate as well too. I've seen him drag receivers down the field. Now, will he be able to do that in the NFL? Well, yeah, maybe. But everybody is strong, and if not stronger than what you faced in college. The third point was that his production waned essentially because the QB left a ton of yards on the field for him with inaccurate throws. So they're pretty much just saying that his production could have been higher if he had just gotten, ball placement had been better.
Now, to be clear, that's not you saying that, right?
Yeah, this is Pro Football Focus's write-up, right?
Okay.
Then he dropped nearly 15 pounds of bad weight from 2019 to 2020. That's hard for a football player.
Yeah.
That's hard for a football player, right? Dropping 15 pounds of bad weight, right? Some of these guys do struggle to get their weight down and play at a lighter weight. And so, when you're trying to drop weight and maintain muscle, that could be very, very difficult. So, a commitment to his strength and conditioning is going to look very good for him. Now, on the con side, they're saying he's neither sudden nor fast and struggles to separate down the field, which I absolutely agree with. Yeah. His only answers for press coverage are with his upper body, and stronger corners aid him up. He lets defenders keep their hands on him way too much. And his physicality doesn't translate to the catch point. 9 contested catches on 30 such targets in 2020. Right. So, I just don't think, when you look at the pros versus the cons, I think to me, he's an average receiver in this draft. I think that he'll get drafted, but, I'm not seeing anything particularly special. Right. And that's not meant to be a shot at Seth. I think he did some good things here at Auburn. I disagree with anybody who says that he would have benefited from another year here, though. I think it was time for him to go and get into an NFL type strength and conditioning program. There was no guarantee that he was going to get the ball enough in this new system and risk injury for another year. I just don't think he would have benefited enough from another year. That goes for almost all our receivers.
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I don't at all, actually. Yeah.
No.
I think it would help him. I think it would help him because what he would be ready to learn, the same way we've said we're glad that Tank is going to get to be in this offense, is you're going to learn a system with not only pro style concepts where you're being held to a higher standard as far as blocking goes, because he was everything that he wasn't great at, he could have gotten better at. Now, I don't think you couldn't, that's skill wise. I don't think you're going to get quick twitch ability if you don't have it. You're not. He's not going to get that magically out of nowhere. And the same thing goes for he's not going to come back running a 4.35 just because he stayed another year. He's not going to get that. But I think the difference is when you, as you said, he's got average draft stock. What else could improve that draft stock but coming back to learn more, being more mentally prepared to play the game at the next level? And he could have gotten that if he had stayed. Now, I agree with you always that if you're not going to improve your stock astronomically, don't risk another season of laying out for a 2-wide pass and cracking your ribs, because he did that like 3 times. And Kenyon did that in A-Day. So, hey, you know what? So don't risk it here if you don't think the offense is going to, well, without trying to sugarcoat it, if you don't think Bo Nix is going to put you in better situations as the guy who has the ball in his hands, then no, don't go. And that would have been what I thought. I'm not going to put my body at risk if I can't guarantee that the guy throwing the ball is going to help me make my job easier. And I don't think you can guarantee that even with the change of coach. So I agree that he should have gone, but I still think he could have improved on a lot of things outside of flashy production if he had come back.
Yeah, I'm here where I'm at is if he had come back another year, I wouldn't have been upset about it. But I think he had more to lose in the game by coming back, right? I think that all the receivers have more to lose in the game of coming back in the first year of a system where the offense arguably may regress in year one.
No, it won't regress. It won't be worse than what we saw last year. That's impossible.
I mean, I think it's a risk to come back, given possible injury. Bo, we don't know if he actually makes the next step. I mean, it is a risk in that regard.
Or if he's even the quarterback by the end of the season.
Well, who knows? But my thing is that there are some things that he could learn in this offense that he was not being taught. And I think to B's point, it's almost a mixed bag. If you do come back, you do learn some things. But of course, these people want to see production out of you based on you getting the ball. And granted, they can judge you even in spite of that. But I think it's a mixed bag with him. It's a risk, but I think he does learn a few things. So yeah, we'll definitely hear from you guys in the comments, and we see you commenting. In a matter of fact, shout out to Corey Weber.
Yeah,
I appreciate
hey,
that.
listen, yo, Seth is one of those in between players for me, right? Like he did some good. He could have done better. Thanks, Walt. Appreciate the extra penny on that as well too. 1501.
Shout out, David. Appreciate that, man.
I think he did some good things while he was at Auburn. He could be. I mean, I think you can make an argument that anybody could improve if they stayed. My argument is about what the likelihood of him improving in this new system would have been.
A lot.
I don't think personally that it would have been great enough because it's too much that's not in his control. Right? I think you go now.
I disagree with that completely. It's a completely different route tree. It's a completely different system. That's pro style concepts. You have to learn how to play the position, and he has not learned how to play the position for 3 years. If you look at Seth Williams as a freshman to Seth Williams as a junior, he's essentially the same player, a few pounds lighter. His productivity dipped last year. Some of that's because there were less games, but being in a pro style system prepares you for the NFL much more. Him having the same skills with better knowledge of the game allows him to get drafted higher. It's a risk reward thing because at the time when he made the decision, I was 100% on board with it because it did make a lot of sense. You didn't even know who the new coach was going to be. So he went ahead and made the decision he needed to. His draft stock, absent of injury, absolutely would have been higher with another year in a better system though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The injury risk is too much for a player of his measurables, though. Like, I mean, again, he gets injured, he's not going pro at all. In my book, if he gets injured in his fourth year, he's not playing football at all. So you don't risk that. You go.
I mean, again, you could say that for any player. I'm talking about, you said he has nothing to gain. That's what I fundamentally disagree with. He absolutely has millions of dollars to gain initially on his rookie contract to be able to go. The difference between a 4th or 5th round contract and a 2nd or 3rd round contract is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars over the life of that contract.
Yeah,
that's a lot to gain.
But the likelihood that he would do that in the first year,
very high,
very low,
very high,
very low, very low in this system.
Fundamentally disagree. That's
very low in this system with this quarterback and what potentially after what we saw at A-Day, I don't think so at all.
You can't say that and say that we haven't developed wide receivers in the last couple of years and say he has the first opportunity he's ever had to get true development at the position and think that that's not something that's going to gain him.
Yeah, if he had more than 1 year left.
You don't need a ton of time to be able to learn how to play the position. As somebody who has his talent level, you don't need a ton of time.
Yeah,
if he works hard, he can do that.
I disagree. He's gone. He agrees. All these receivers essentially were on the same page.
He is gone. Yes, that's a fact.
All the receivers were on the same page about this, though, right? Like I don't think
none of them knew who Coach Harsin was when they left. Right. That's not. They didn't make that decision about Harsin, though.
But it made their decision easier to leave. Schwartz said that in an interview, right? Schwartz said, "Listen, man, in a new system, my decision to leave got a lot easier." Right?
He said that because the coach got fired, not because Brian Harsin was hired. There's still completely different things. Like that's a completely different thought and idea, separate and apart from the concept of, will he get a better chance to learn a pro system with this new coach, and will that improve his draft stock? Schwartz and them deciding to leave because the coach got fired and they're like, well, it's going to be like me starting over. That's a different thought altogether, whether or not this is a better situation for him as a receiver. It's a better situation for any receiver to be in this system. 1 year, 2 years, doesn't matter. Why would somebody who is draft eligible come down and want to play for Derek Mason on defense? And he's a DB. He could have gone to the draft too. He has an opportunity to learn under a system.
On defensive offense, that's not the same thing. There's
it 100% is the same thing.
Right,
How is that different?
Because on the offensive side, you need somebody to throw you the ball. And you're talking about the mental and the learning. And I'm telling you, he can learn all that in minicamp. He can pick a lot of that up in minicamp.
I'm talking about dollars for a draft position. I'm not talking about whether he can learn something. You can't earn new dollars in minicamp.
Oh, you can't earn any dollars if you get hurt either. So when you encompass all of it, the risk is just too great. He went.
Yeah. Okay. We disagree. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. Seth Williams.
Those are two schools of thoughts.
Yeah.
Thought, right? He could have come back, increase his stock, or in some people's case, like Mike G, does not necessarily increase his stock, either through injury or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Two schools of thoughts.
When you take the totality of it, right? When you take the totality of it, it's not hard to understand why he made the decision.
Didn't say that either. You're making completely different points than I am.
But I'm not saying that he gained nothing from coming back. What I was saying is that the pros outweigh the cons. That's what I'm saying.
That's actually exactly what you said.
Okay, so then let me correct it. The pros do not outweigh the cons when it comes to coming back. So you go. That's how you make any decision in life. The pros don't outweigh the cons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I said we disagree. That's fine. Like, I don't know why you keep trying to make me agree with you. I just disagree.
Cool.
This is
with that, let's move to the next wide receiver that we may disagree on. Well, we may be all in agreement here. We'll just see. Let's talk about Anthony. And we see a lot of you guys questions and comments. Listen, we got some people we want to talk about in depth. So if we don't get to your comments, forgive us. But we got some people to talk about, because the draft does begin tomorrow. The next guy up is Anthony Schwartz. Those are his numbers. Now, according to ESPN, they actually have him with the highest rank round projection at the second round. He could possibly go second round. Now, the lowest was fifth by both CBS Sports and Pro Football Focus. Now, according to ESPN's Todd McShay, he is rated as the number 72nd overall prospect, which puts him at the number 11th wide receiver. And those are his numbers. Of course, he had a very impressive pro day at Auburn. So, guys, talking about Flash here, what are your thoughts about this guy? He has perhaps the widest window of any of the draft prospects as to where he could potentially land. But what say you? What do you think Flash could potentially end up, and what does the ceiling look like for him?
I mean, I think a smart team takes him second or third round. There are just things about the idea that Anthony Schwartz is just a speed guy, I think, is one of the most ridiculous things that has been perpetuated over and over and over again, even by Auburn fans. But you can't coach being that fast. You just can't. Like, I don't care how many times you go out there and run your 40, you will never be as fast as Anthony Schwartz is on a bad day. It's just not a thing, right? And he runs his routes well. He understands his responsibilities on most plays. The only question that I have about Anthony Schwartz is durability. If he is able to stand up to the rigor of getting hit often, Anthony Schwartz is going to be a guy that when you put him on the field, he changes your offense completely just because of the threat of his speed. He doesn't even have to catch a single pass. You just need to know that the DBs have to respect the fact that if you turn your head, he's 40 yards down the field before you blink. And so a smart GM will look at his film and say, this guy can do some things in the way that he releases off the line, the way he stacks the DB when he gets into certain positions, the way he understands, even in a limited system, the way he understands what his role and responsibility is on a particular play. Again, the only question I have about him is durability, but second or third round is where I think he should be able to go. and do well. He's got good hands. He's just a natural catcher of the football. Yeah, I don't know. Second or third round.
B.
I say the same thing. Second to third. The profiles that I've looked at have him. They're grading him, saying they saw the improvement year to year, even when he got hurt in year 2, which was 2019. He was, I don't want to say surprisingly sure-handed. One of the profiles I saw, they made note that he double clutched some passes at times, which means he kind of has to, like, it takes him to gather. But that's not a terrible thing if you hold on to the ball, and he did hold on to the ball. He had less drops than Seth Williams did. So I don't really see too much downside. I really feel bad for these guys that they weren't in an offense that could really showcase their talents. Like, that's reading their profiles, man, looking at what we've seen from them from the last 3 years. It's just, how did we not just go bananas on offense with these guys here, man? And I feel bad for them because we've probably cost them a few $1 million, and they're going to have to put in 5 years of hard work. Not that they wouldn't anyway, but man, they could be a few million richer going into the NFL than they're going to be. Now they're going to have to show it all after the fact. But you run a 4.27? Listen, man, you're going to get something. He's not going to be wanting, that's for sure. I don't see him going past third round because 4.27, he hasn't been incredibly dogged by injuries. He's been, he's had some nicks and bruises, but he's not injury prone, I would say. And he's too fast and sure-handed enough to make a difference immediately. Somebody who loves speed. Las Vegas, of course, Kansas City. I'm trying to think of some other offenses that value taking the top off. I can't think of any right now, but he's going to go.
Everybody does. There's nobody who can't use a really fast receiver on their team.
But also, people have struck out because they drafted guys who weren't really good receivers. They were just fast, like I think of John Ross.
Right.
John Ross
and that's what everybody wants to make him out to be. I just don't think that that's him.
Yeah, I say second or third. I say third at the absolute lowest. I will be surprised if he's still on the board in the 4th round.
Shout out to the homie Jonathan Harris. For anyone who's interested, Pro Football Focus has a mock draft simulator that you can use if you're following the draft up close. So appreciate that tip there. I think he's going to go mid to late third. Me personally, I think he'll go mid to late third, and I agree with Ike. The question is with him is about his durability. And again, it's not a 12-game season; it's 16, right? So you want a guy who's that speed ain't no good if he's on the sideline. So you want to see if he can last, and hopefully that changes at the next level. But Mike G, what you got, bro?
I think Schwartz is probably the most intriguing of the guys on the draft board for Auburn, right? Like he, when you look at, depending on who you're talking to, as high as second, as low as 6th or 7th, right? Jonathan mentioned Pro Football Focus. I mean, they gave him a 6th round grade, but while saying some really, really positive things about him. So I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, 3rd or 4th round. When you look at the guys who are getting drafted, who are 1st round picks, right? They all have they all have certain measurables that, Schwartz may not have. Now, he is the fastest guy in this draft, and it's not even a debate, right? Like, he's the fastest receiver in this class, period, right? But for him to be the fastest, right, and still the range of where people think, I think it's going to depend a lot on who's on the board, because you've got, like, in the top 10, you've got who's sitting there. You've got Jamar Chase, you've got Devontae Smith, and you've got Jalen Waddle, right? Jalen Waddle has elite speed. Jamar Chase is a complete receiver. Although they do note in his draft profile that he benefited a lot from a lot of perfectly placed balls by Joe Burrow. Devontae Smith, kind of the same deal, right? But for Schwartz, I think Ike is right. I think that he is a better route runner than he got credit for. He was definitely underutilized. And if you are an NFL GM, I'm just thinking, you're looking at this guy and thinking, if he can stay healthy and he can be a pure route runner, he's dangerous. I mean, he's really dangerous guy in space with the ball. And we saw that when he got loose on speed sweeps. And, I mean, if you got him the ball in space, he can make guys miss. He had more than just straight line speed, right? He took really good angles and could beat guys to the corner. But the draft is a funny thing. So where I think he goes and where he'll actually go, I mean, I think that he's got second round talent, but I believe he's a fourth rounder in reality when I look at his peers in this draft. So, they had an interesting write-up. They say that he's Pro Football Focus says he's the fastest receiver in this class. His one-step hesitation release works well. And he has agility to go with his speed, which is really good for this guy. And they wrote this as a positive. It's a really strange comment, but they wrote hung out to dry by his QB. So many missed opportunities where Schwartz got open deep. And I think that's really just kind of an excuse for if you're looking at his numbers and you're saying his production wasn't great, here's why. But he did his job and got open. Yeah. Right. So he was completely underutilized. Now, their cons, I don't know that I agree with their cons. They said that he's not a receiver, no feel for route running or ball skills. I completely disagree with that. His speed zapped when you get hands on him, not great at getting them off either. Thin and no physical aspect to his game. I can't really say I argue with that. And not really a tackle breaker, right? Gets yak via forcing bad angles, which is a positive to me.
Right.
Like, so I don't really understand it.
Those are manufactured negatives, though. Like, he's slim. So, yes, guys who are physical are going to push him around. But you could literally say that about any slim receiver. But the problem is, how easy is that to do? He's fast enough and he has good enough get off at the line. It ain't like you act like that's an easy thing to do for a guy that had, like, it's not even just his top end speed. Like he gets to his top end really quickly. Like if you look at his splits on his run time, like he's just fast, bro. Like he's fast and quick.
Yeah.
So
10.09 100-meter. Right, you have to get to your top end speed pretty quickly, right? Like,
and for context, 100-meter dash, right? Like what does 100 yards equate to in meters? Like somebody can do the math on that, right? Like
1 meter. Yeah, I don't know the conversion.
Do
math on a Wednesday.
What I'm saying is he can almost run the length of a football field in less than 15 seconds.
All right.
Yeah. Right. So, he's fast. And I agree. Like, everybody's trying to get faster at the NFL. Look at Tyreek Hill. You get a guy like Tyreek Hill, and then you put him in a system that creates space for receivers to operate, and then you pair him with a quarterback that can get him the ball at almost any point on the field, and he's dangerous. Now, is Tyreek Hill still Tyreek Hill playing with Baker Mayfield? Right, or
Thomas Sanders says that's 109.361 yards. So 100 meters, he could run the length of a football field in less than 12 seconds.
It's fast,
less than 10. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, he's fast. And when you look at the deep balls where we did hit him, man, he was gone. Yeah, he completely smoked the defender like 5-6 yards. So I just think there's room for that on the team. You get him, you train him, you maybe put a little bit of weight on him, but you don't want to slow him down, right? And that's the balance that you got. Getting bigger while also keeping speed is a challenge that you have to weigh in their strength and conditioning, all right? You still want him to be fast, but you want him to be durable because he's got to be able to take a hit, right? And stay on the field. Now, when we talked to Devin talked about, hey, listen, if you get drafted 3rd round or higher, they expect you to contribute immediately. Or by year 2.
I think he said by year 2 or 3 they expect you to be a starter.
Right? Yeah. And so I think that the durability question may come into play when they're evaluating him, because if you're hurt guys don't play. They don't contribute. He played half a season with a club on his hand as a receiver here. He had some leg issues, right? He didn't no catastrophic injuries, but he was hurt enough that it limited his production. And for a speed guy, that matters. Right. So I think I'm so intrigued by Anthony Schwartz. I actually think that he should be the first player off the board for Auburn, but
Probably
just depending,
will be.
yeah, but
It's between him
him
and Sherwood, actually, from what I'm looking at the mocks.
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait to get to Sherwood. But like, I hope and pray. My Christmas wish for Anthony Schwartz is that he gets 30 deep ball catches for Christmas next year, right? Like, I just want to see him beating DBs and catching balls deep all year long, right? Like, he deserved that, man. He busted his ass getting behind receivers, and we failed to get him the ball a lot. He should have left Auburn probably as one of the best receivers we ever had with the speed that he had. And hopefully he goes to a team that knows how to utilize his talent, because the last thing I want to see is him go to a team. The blessing and him getting taken in the later rounds is he might actually go to a good system.
Yeah.
Rather than getting taken by a bad team high, Ike talked a little bit about the millions of dollars that are traded off from round to round. Last pick in the first round and first pick in the second round, that's millions of dollars lost falling to the second round. Mm-hmm. Right. But, honestly, if he outperforms his rookie contract, we see there are big dollars there for speed guys in the NFL. So, yeah, I'm high on Schwartz.
Hope he stays healthy, man. I mean, and that will ensure that he can outperform that rookie deal and get more money and become a respectable receiver. So yeah, we've seen guys in the comments who are, we heard some people say first. We've heard mixed rounds. Again, we're thinking he's somewhere around anywhere between second and fourth between the guys here. But again, we still want to hear from you guys before we go to the break. Mike G, with everything, we want to ask you guys a question and posted by James here. Shout out to him. He's one of our subscribers. Does Schwartz have to be a good route runner with all that speed? Just seeing him blow by guys, we just didn't have the QB to throw it to him. I mean, I think he does need to be a good route runner because absolutely. There are some fast guys in the NFL too. He's not in college no more. This is the next level, but I want to hear from you guys.
I mean, he's got Olympian speed, so he doesn't have to be, but the better he gets at running routes, the longer he stays in the NFL. And the more that they're able to utilize him in different ways that aren't just go routes, he's going to turn into the same thing he was at Auburn, which is a guy who's just getting tired running up and down the field over and over again because he's running clearing routes for people. Right. And a lot of those guys who have that Olympic type speed, that's what they end up being in the NFL because they never learned how to be. Really, what's most important for him is being able to get out of breaks quickly. Like, he doesn't necessarily need to be a guy who's running like a bunch of variety of routes. He just needs to be able to run the comeback route really well. If he can get to the top end of his speed, get out of that break, and then be available, he'll be open. Unless they bracket him, he'll be open every play because the DB's already going to have to play so far off of him. If they try to bump him and he gets free, that's tail lights. If they're playing a loose coverage on him because they don't want to get blown by and he can threaten deep and then put the brakes on, he'll be wide open. So that's the biggest thing he's going to have to learn how to do, which again, I fault the way that we utilized him here. He's just going to have to learn how to do that. If he can get out of the breaks cleanly, he'll be open 80% of the time. Just catch it.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. The answer is yes. He needs to learn how to run routes.
Agreed. Well, listen, man, we appreciate you guys dropping questions in the comments, basically having a whole other discussion about other players. We love it. We appreciate you. But whatever you do, though, we need you to share this video. Now, if you're on Facebook, you can use the following hashtags that we'll drop right here. Of course, if you're on Twitter, please add us at The War Report. Use the hashtag TWR War Room, or you can use hashtag Get Your Weight Up, or both. We'll greatly appreciate that. Just let people know that the War Report is out here dropping great content consistently, and we would greatly appreciate that from you guys. We appreciate you. Mike G, talk to us, man. What we got coming up?
Listen, man, Chop It Up with a Pro, Chris Todd Part 3 is next Thursday. So we will be breaking down 8A film from a QB perspective. I highly recommend. The first one was so good. The first film review with Chris was so good. He just has an excellent football mind, and it was great being able to sit with him to talk about QB development, footwork, reading DBs, reading defenses. So if you want to be a part of this is insider only. So become an insider, $5.99 a month will get you there. Other than that, our GoFundMe is up. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel, as well as our merch store, which you can find in the About section of our YouTube channel. I see a number of you guys sporting your War Rapport gear, and everybody who I've seen in it looks like a winner. So, if you want to be a winner, get some War Rapport gear.
You know what to do. All
Facts.
right. So, seeing some guys, I'm seeing you mention two guys left that you've been mentioning heavy. We're going to talk about one of them, and that is Mr. Sherwood.
Yeah, Jamien
Sherwood. Now, those are his measurables there. And according to CBS Sports, they gave him the highest rank round that he was projected to go to is 4th round. The lowest is the 6th, according to The Athletic. According to ESPN's Todd McShay, he is rated the 187th overall prospect, making him the number 14th safety in this draft. Those are his numbers there. So, guys, what say you? I'll actually switch it up and start with B. Will first.
Sherwood is so. What I like about Sherwood and Britt, I know we'll get to Britt, is that they have what seem to be breeding on the defensive side of the ball as just a tenacity for contact and for hitting. Like they like hitting, and it was really fun to see both of them, in particular Sherwood and Ike always talked about him during the season. So he's gonna talk to you, which is one of the greatest things about him, man. I mean, I like if you're going to perform, you get the right to talk. That's always how I felt about it. I don't want to, that's sportsmanship. Who cares about sportsmanship, man? Listen, this is a game. It's gonna end when the time is off the clock. Have your fun. If you're not costing your team, if you're not getting penalties thrown on you, do a little chirping. A little chirping is cool. And he just had that salt in his game. I didn't get a great impression just watching him when he was playing for us of exactly what type of player he was, because he played reserve a lot. Like his first season and a half, he wasn't the starter. And that was it's not that I didn't think he had the talent. That's why it was so surprising that he went after this year. I thought next year was going to be, that's the year you show. That's the year that you put everything on display. So it was a surprise that he went, but going back and looking at the evaluations of him, they're not high on him in really any way, honestly. Like they're like, oh, he talks well. He likes to hit, which is the one pro that everybody brings up about, and that's the one good thing that everybody's consistent on. But they're like, listen, he's gonna play some zone in the NFL. He'll be a nickel. And they're like, he'll be fine. And that surprises me because I think a lot of coaches, they look at the measurables. His measurables are good, not great. There's nothing about him that jumps off the screen as far as measurables go. But if you just watch them play, man, like I want somebody who wants it that much. Like that means something to me when it comes to anything, especially something like football where you have to commit physically and mentally. The fact that he's so committed physically, I like that. Like I just I like how he played, and that doesn't mean that others are going to be high on him. But what I do know is that there's going to be a defensive coach somewhere that goes, nah, I like that guy right there. It's not going to be because he's the rangiest guy or he can cover the most ground. It's going to be because if I need him to cover this tight end that's coming out, that he's not going to be scared to go down there and take his legs out. And that's why I think he will get drafted. That's why I think he'll have a job. And barring injuries, well, he'll make it to a second contract too, because he's committed to playing the game completely, physically and mentally.
Comment here that I love. Ike has alluded to it. I love this about it. Some people don't like this, but Sherwood is the same dude. I'm in your face. I'm gonna talk trash. You're gonna see me every play. Like I'm gonna miss that for sure in our secondary. because I just love that. That was almost the part that made me smile in games when we were down. Like Sherwood still in dude's face, and he don't pay attention to the scoreboard. So I love that. But I also see a lot of people's comments about where he could potentially project at the next level, and I'm hearing a lot of linebacker or outside linebacker. What say you, man? What do you think the possibilities are for Sherwood at the next level?
I mean, he's a box safety right now. I mean, people are saying nickel just because they don't want him to be on the outside and they don't feel like he's rangy enough to be a safety. But like guys who are coming downhill and who can help in the box against the run, like if they're going to put him in special, he's going to make the league off of specialty packages, right? So like when they want to go to, a nickel or they want to go to a dime defense and they still want to be stout against the run and be multiple, that's probably how he's going to make the league. He's a little too small to be a linebacker. Yeah. He's a tweener. That's really the issue with a lot of people making pro projections is those people who are tweeners, like somebody they're too small to be this, but they're too slow to be this, and they're too this to be this, and I just think that when you look at some like a Jabril Peppers as an example for somebody who they didn't know what to do with Jabril, but he became a guy who you can put him on the field and he can do a bunch of stuff. And so an inventive defensive coach is going to allow you to get into the game. And it's like, all right, cool. Now you have no idea what we're lined up in because, yeah, we got 5 DBs on the field, but this guy's actually a linebacker in this position and he's going to be able to do this. And then we're going to switch and drop him back on the next play. It allows you to be multiple. And I think that he's a guy who can do that for a team if he gets on the right team. He's likely going to start off doing a lot of special teams. Yeah. And getting in on sub packages. But definitely a box safety could convert to, I've heard some, people talk about he bulked up a little bit, could convert to a linebacker, outside linebacker type of guy. But that's where he's going to be. He's going to be a downhill box safety type. So.
Okay. And I like this post by Jamien talking about Darren Bates, added some weight, ended up playing linebacker for several seasons. So, just depends.
He's going to have to put on like 15 to 20 pounds though. And like, is he going to, he's already slow. Like, is he going to be able to stay at he's slow for a DB, right? He's fast for a linebacker, but I don't know. We'll see.
Mike G, what you got, bro?
Sherwood is a baller.
Yeah.
Just flat out, man. He just plays
I love his game.
He had 71 attempted tackles last season and he only missed 4. He doesn't miss. Right. Like, so if he's coming to tackle you, you're going down. I think there's a lot of value in that at the next level. So, that will get looked at. I mean, his form tackles, right? Like his tackle technique is something that's going to shine off the page to everybody evaluating him. So I said that Schwartz, I thought Schwartz could be the first one off the board, but the truth is that Jamien Sherwood is probably the best all-around player for Auburn in this draft, right? Pro Football Focus has an interest. They gave him a 3rd-round grade. They said that he has the new age overhang linebacker skill set, and he'll be perfect for a team with a defined box safety. To Ike's point about box safety, elite combo of size and explosiveness, lab-created box safety traits, lights-out tackler, no problem manning up on tight ends. Easy for him. He can flip his hips and run the seam. Smooth athlete. Right.
Mike G, wasn't it you? We talked offline. Wasn't it him who had only 4 missed tackles?
Yeah, 4 missed tackles on 71 attempts.
71 attempps.
Yeah. So he just balls, right? Like he has a nose for the football. Whenever there was a tackle to be made, Jamien Sherwood was around. For sure. Right. And it's something that I think that instinctively some guys do that just they know how to find the football. He's one of those guys that just knows how to find the football. And it's hard to teach somebody. You could teach people how to be in position on a play. But some guys just know where the football is going to be. And you don't need to teach them that. Right. So it doesn't even matter. Even if it's a bad play call, he's going to find the football. And then when he gets there, he just doesn't miss. So, going to a team that understands where to put him, because to Ike's point, right, he's slow for a safety, but then fast for a linebacker. And, you need to go to a team that knows what box to put him in. So he's either going to play at the weight that he is and try to get faster, or he's going to put on weight, play a little slower, and move to linebacker, right? But there's a lot there for a team that knows what they're doing to work with, because he just has great technique, and you should be able to utilize his skill set effectively if you know what you're doing. My only worry is that he goes to a team that just doesn't know what they're doing, right? That's
the word with every guy.
Yeah, if he doesn't ball at the next level, I blame whatever team took him. Period.
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, you could say that. I think the only person who, though I think Sherwood's probably the most well-rounded because he's that tweener type, and we're going to talk about another tweener here in just a minute. The only person who absolutely translates to the next level, regardless of what team you're going to put him on, and this is going to surprise everybody that I'm going to say this, is Seth Williams. Because though he doesn't have really great separation skills, you can't like somebody who's a possession type receiver, you can put him in any offense, and if your quarterback is in trouble, you can just throw the ball up to him. It's like, all right, great. I don't know what I'm doing. But for whatever we want to say about Bo Nix knew that much. If I'm in trouble, just look for 18 out there. He got to be down there somewhere. Let me just throw it in his area code and hope he can come down with it. Which I think that kind of, being able to do that and not drop a ton of those, he's got to work a little bit on the drops. But I think he's one of those guys where it's like you really can't miss with him. How many years he stays in the league will be determined by how well he learns the game at the position. But Sherwood is one of those guys. He goes to the right coach and he's in the right system. He's going to be a problem on Sundays consistently because his motor does not stop. Even if we're losing, I'm still going to come out here and I'm going to smack somebody the very next play, and I'm going to let them know that I smacked them the very next play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are two teams I think that fit really well for him. One is the Bills, because following Carolina for as long as Cam was with them, I know McDermott, that's where McDermott came from. He's the head coach of the Bills right now. They pulled a lot of guys from FCS, from Group of 5 teams. They were not the flashiest guys. They were not guys like, what's his name, Josh Norman. Josh Norman didn't come from. It's like, listen, Sean McDermott was looking for a certain type of guy, and that fire and that determination that Sherwood has was a big part of it. Also knowing where to be consistently, sure tackling. It's like, listen, man, there are plenty of NFL coaches and defensive schemes that fit him. It's just that you have no idea what else those teams need and how the rest of the draft is going to shake out. So he could go as high as 4. Honestly, he could also go as low as undrafted and get a call right after that. So there's just no telling.
I think he could sneak into the 3rd round, honestly. Like, I definitely think Jamien Sherwood could sneak into the 3rd round if the team if they're looking for something specific in the type of box safety he is, he's the perfect fit. And he could definitely sneak in to be a 3rd rounder. Because he is that tweener, though. I would project him probably be 4th or 5th, but
4th. That's where I got him. That's where I got him. Right before let's wrap him up so we can get to the next guy. B, you had him at what round?
Shoot. I got him 4. You
got him 4th. What about you, Mike G?
I got him 3. I think
you got him 3.
I just think somebody will take a chance on him before the 4th round.
Hey, I hope you're right, man. I hope they all go as early as possible. So we got 2 4 to 5ths, a 4 and a 3. So want to hear from you guys. We see some of y'all pushing for some of your favorite squads to get them. We want to hear his name called for sure. And we'll definitely miss this guy again, man. I'm gonna miss that trash talking, man. Warmed my heart. I don't know about you guys, but the next guy we want to talk about on defense is Mr. Britt. Now, he, according to all of the people who are projecting where he goes, he is actually projected very late. He's projected as a 7th rounder. No one projected him higher than a 7th rounder. He is rated, according to ESPN's Todd McShay, as the 131st overall prospect, making him the number 11th inside linebacker. That is KJ Britt. Now we know he had a very, very slow 40 at Pro Day, but just want to know your thoughts. I'll start with Mike G. Yeah,
I mean, he could maybe not get drafted. Like, I mean, I think that he'll make somebody seen at some point next year. Yeah, I have a ton here. Listen, man, he's got good measurables in terms of build and physical stature, right? 6 foot, 6 foot 243. He just, I don't think we got the most out of him at Auburn. I'm unclear on whether that was on him or coaching, but he'll get a chance to prove that he can make somebody's squad at the next level, right? Like,
I would have liked to have seen him in this defense under Mason.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see. I mean, listen, they wrote his cons up as agility lacking, little versatility, can get stuck guarding a slot receiver, stiff-hipped, limited coverage responsibilities in the last defense, right? He played only 2 games in 2020 after injuring his thumb. So, last year, what did we see, really, of KJ Britt? So this will be interesting, man, to see how, again, I'm always fascinated by the evaluation process in the NFL, where, it's the better teams can look at a guy and say, nobody, I think some of the best picks in the NFL are made after the second round. I think that's when it gets real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. Somebody had to look at him. A lot of teams thought he was too short to play quarterback, and he proved a lot of people wrong. They said a lot of people said the same thing about Drew Brees. I mean, just how people evaluate, like how they look at these guys is so drastically different from team to team. So I'll be interested to see who looks at KJ Britt and says, he didn't get, we don't have a lot of tape on him from last year, but he measures up. And I really think a lot of these guys suffer from not having a regular combine. Pro day is not the same. It's just not, right? Having a souped up pro day was just not the same. I mean, does Anthony's Schwartz's 40 time feels differently at pro day than it would have at the combine, right? The impact of the time he ran was just not the same, right? And so, like, he didn't get a chance to get out there and prove that on that stage. So my eyes will be on this one. I mean, because behind him, who else do we have? Like Stove. There was Stove, who is, I don't think will get drafted. And then what was the guy, the safety?
Peters.
Right? Yeah, that is coming out. I think he had a year of eligibility left, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, all of them did technically because of the COVID year, but
decided to go. So with Britt, hopefully somebody gives them a chance. I just think whenever these guys are gone, you hope that they succeed, because listen, man, it's I describe the road to becoming a professional football player is like hitting the lottery for a lot of these kids, man. Right? Like if you are in high school, you may have one pro prospect on average at high school. D1 prospect at each high school in a year on average. One guy who can play at the D1 level. And when you get to the NFL, it's the best of all those one guys at those high schools that made it to the next, that overcame everything to make it to the next level, right? So this really, for him, it's going to be about he needed to impress in his interviews. He needed to do a lot of other things. He needed to win people over, man. Because it's not going to be about his tape. Right. It's going to be about his measurables and his bench press and his, and everything else, all his other tangibles, other than tape, only playing 2 games in 2020. Just my thoughts on him.
B.
Britt's got he's got that imprint that Travis left on him, and on Deshaun Davis, to be fair, which is, I mean, Deshaun Davis was even a little smaller than Britt, which is why he didn't stick in the league too long. But I like Britt. I think he did a lot for himself going to the Senior Bowl, and the practices he had, he was actually voted the best linebacker there by the offensive linemen and the opposing team running backs. Like, hey man, we didn't want to see this guy. So I think that speaks well. That's kind of an interview right there. The Senior Bowl is a good way to get looked at because that's an NFL team.
Yeah,
automatically, and that's some more tape you could put out there. He missed the whole season. He was hurt. I don't think he was out of place in our offense. In our defense. I think the bad thing for him was that he's playing linebacker about 20 years later than he should have been, because he could have been like, I don't know, he could have been like an all-time great middle linebacker in the NFL. I'm not all-time great. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he had everything that you need to stop that 3 yards in the cloud of dust offense that was still going on 20 years ago.
For sure.
He has that.
I mean, he's a run stopper.
He's a run stopper. That's how he plays. He doesn't care. He's not thinking about his safety, or he's not thinking about his neck. He's trying to take somebody's head off. And that doesn't have the same value when offenses can spread you out like they currently are doing. And I loved what he did for us, but I remember very vividly that Florida game at Florida, 2019. It was like, hey man, it's like that was the first time. I think we had been coasting for a little while, and we as a team, we were like, all right, are we good? We think we're good because we had beat up on like Mississippi State or something, and the offense actually looked really good. And then we went down there, and the defense held up for a while.
That was a long day.
Before they gave out completely, Dan Mullen stole a couple, and he stole them on KJ Britt. He knew who to put in space. He knew how to put him in space. That right there was the first time I was like, oh, Dan Mullen is who everybody's still talking like Gus Malzahn is. Got it. Okay. That's the guy who has the scheme and the know-how to manipulate the defense. Oh, okay. I got it. Okay. And I was like, how did he know? It was like a 70-something yard touchdown play. It was a long touchdown. I was like, how did he? And then, so even though everybody hates Danielson, went over it with the teleprompter. I was like, that was really good. So somebody watched their film and saw exactly what the draft profile says, which is stiff in the hips. It's going to struggle in space. And they got him. And right now, if you're going to be seeing anybody, that has a decent quarterback, listen, man, it's going to be hard for you to make a living out there. Maybe somebody, you might still play the Cleveland Browns. They want to run the ball all day. Cool. The San Francisco 49ers, even though Shanahan's not going to be that deliberate about it, I don't know, man. It's tough. Even when the run is predictable, NFL teams are doing a lot better job of not being so traditional. And I think that's why he could slide really late. And that's why. It's not because he doesn't have value as a player, as a leader. He has the mentals, but man, you can't teach agility. And you can't teach speed, and that's what's holding him back.
So let me interject something that Pro Football Focus wrote on him that I thought was funny, kind of going along with what you said. He said, Britt is about 20 years too late. He's an early
I
down.
didn't even read that.
He's an early down player, only at linebacker, which is hardly a role for most anymore. That's kind of what they wrote about him. So I can't say that I necessarily disagree with that either. So, he's going to have to evolve. Yeah, because what I'm reading there, he's going to have to evolve if he wants to find a role at the next level.
Everybody's already said kind of what I feel about him. He's going to make somebody's team where he gets drafted. His draft stock's just going to be hurt, honestly, because he is kind of one-dimensional, right? Like here's the thing that is frustrating about him. From an evaluation standpoint, is that he's smart, so he's always in place, right? Like on the plays that we talked about in that Florida game where he got exposed for like having the stiff hips, he wasn't far away from the receiver that he got burnt by. He was in his hip pocket, right? But he's just a step too slow to be able to cover anybody in as a linebacker. In those situations, when you're, the middle linebacker and on a dime package, you're going to be the guy who's going to be covering somebody in the slot, right? A little quick slot receiver, a tight end and so that guy is really his responsibility is just to turn and get off you really quickly. If you put him in a one-on-one situation where you're making Britt have to do that sort of thing, he's gonna get burnt. But again, smart defensive coaches realize I can't put this guy in those situations, so we need to do da-da-da. But smart offensive mind realizes, all right, well, they switched him over here. Let's flip the play and we're going to do that, right? So he's got to learn that sort of thing, but you just can't replace, number one, somebody who is that type of leader. Number two, somebody who if I catch you slipping though, it's a wrap for you, right? Like I'm coming downhill on your running back. If I catch him in the hole, he is going to be trying to pick himself up off the grass for a minute. Mm-hmm. You let me get a little depth and I get to come down on a guy who stopped in front of me in the zone. I'm laying that dude out too. Right. And so like, you can't replace that. Like, I don't think he's like super slow. He's just not twitchy. Right. Like, and so you find the right person that puts him in the right type of situation. He's going to be good. But for all of those reasons, 6th round is the highest I see him going. Honestly, if he gets above the 6th round, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we think, guys? I said it, no better than 6 at best, right? What's worst case?
I mean, worst case is undrafted free agent. Yeah.
Or not even that, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, dude. He's got some, he needed to be good all around. There's some guys who, you see in the draft and you're like, he's trouble, but man, his physical gifts are worth the headache, right?
Right.
That's not where Britt is at, right? He needed to be impressive at the intangibles as well too. He needs to be a good guy, right? He needs to be a hard worker. He needs to just show teams that, listen, that I may be, outmanned in some areas, but I won't be outworked. And that's where we've seen guys consistently make names for themselves at the next level, right? He just has to work harder because the guy with the natural talent is always going to get those guys get the first opportunity. And when you look in this draft, I mean, listen, you look at that top 25, there are some guys who weren't the most physically gifted, but they outworked everybody to be in the top 10, right? Sure. Like, or top 25 or first round grade. They just outworked everybody. Some guys benefit from their system. My overall take about this draft is that, damn it, Auburn needs to start holding up their end of the bargain for these kids, right? We have to start providing more opportunities for these guys to get taken higher. We just do. Mm-hmm. We have to do better. Yeah. And if you're watching this and you think that we have done a good job of this, you're wrong. I disrespectfully disagree with you.
Yeah, it's hard, like, because with a lot of these guys on defense, right? Like, they look worse on tape sometimes because they're exhausted by the fourth quarter. And they're putting bad tape out there, right? But as a defensive guy, if they were able to stay on fresh legs the entirety of the game, I think you see them finish stronger. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, because our productivity had been so poor and the type of offense they were running doesn't translate well to the NFL, you don't see a lot of guys get looks outside of maybe some offensive linemen occasionally, which we haven't drafted well. We haven't done a good job of getting those guys in the last couple of years. And then maybe running back, because we're going to lean so heavily on the running back to kind of be the catalyst for our offense.
Right.
But if you're if you're a tight end, what's the Sal Cannella, right? Sal Cannella is a perfect example of somebody. He came back and he's still trying to get drafted this year. Mm-hmm. He's got all the stuff that people talk about with these prototypical new tight ends. He's got the body, he's got the speed, he got all the stuff. Didn't get drafted. You know why? He caught like 5 balls at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Never threw him the ball. And he's a red zone monster.
And he was impressive when he got the ball thrown to him. But
there's literally no reason why Sal Cannella couldn't have been playing on Sundays if he had been able to put the right film out there. Right.
Yeah. And if you watch A-Day, listen, man, he came to Auburn. He was born a few years too late, right? Because if we're to believe what we saw on the A-Day tape, tight ends are going to get the ball this year.
Yeah, man.
Right. And I mean, there were some guys who came through that I was glad that, like CJ Uzuma was another one.
Yeah.
He made it, but he had to overcome a lot based on the system that he played in because he rarely got the ball. And he had to take advantage of what really were a handful of opportunities to show that he had any acumen to play at the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like I said, man, it's just time for us to start holding up our end of the bargain, man. I hope that's what Harsin is bringing. I hope that this draft class is a stark reminder of why we've fallen behind in the SEC arms race somewhat. I mean, look at the top 25. Everybody hates when I talk about it, but I just think, you got to face reality, man. The school up the road has like 5 guys in that 25. And the first round.
Yeah.
2 receivers. One of them won a Heisman. The other is the quarterback that was throwing it to him. One guy who was hurt half the season. And still going in the first round.
Right.
And Waddle.
Right.
Good God, man. Like, we just got to start doing better. Yeah, and this is, when we're talking about draft, we can't talk about the NFL draft without talking about its effect on our recruiting for the next year.
Yep.
Are we putting guys in the NFL?
Right.
The answer is sometimes.
Right. And the sometimes that we do it. And the unfortunate reality is we see those guys had talent. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing guys go to the NFL and they're playing long careers and they're flourishing in those careers. But did you see that same productivity at Auburn?
Right.
No.
Well, to me, it was a byproduct of having great recruiting classes. You recruited some stellar athletes who athleted themselves into the next level,
right,
for the most part.
They
it's
made it
not
on
because those guys developed to get to the next level, right? So I actually looked back and saw a lot of Malzahn sent a lot of guys to the NFL, but he also averaged almost in the top 10 since he's been at Auburn as head coach.
Yeah, I think the lowest he was like 11th or something like that, which is
somebody ought to get to the league out of that talent you're recruiting. But
right.
it's how much higher could these kids have gone? And one of the things that I'm excited about. That's a mess.
That's he might got out the chat from the account. Amen yourself.
How you gonna troll from inside the club?
I'm saying.
So my thing is like. So my thing is like with the guys we have on staff, you have Derek Mason, you got Eason, you got guys who've coached at the next level. Hopefully, these are guys who know what it takes to be successful at the next level and can teach these guys what they need to know to reach their goals. Right. And so I'm hoping with this coaching staff, and again, it's impressive to see what Harsin has done. It's wow. Now look what you just started, Mike G. It's impressive to see, it's impressive to see what Harsin has done at Boise with the number of players that he's been able to send to the NFL.
Yes.
So I am hoping that trend starts at Auburn, right? That we're able to develop some kids, even some kids who've flown under the radar who become studs. We saw that under Tuberville. So I'm looking forward to a new day at Auburn where we're not talking about a kid who has 4th, 3rd, 2nd round talent potentially becoming a free agent, right? That needs to change.
Listen, Coach Harsin, if for some reason you're listening to this, help us out, bro. Toss us a line. Right? Do better for these kids because you're making $5 million a year. Right? Yeah. And some of these kids are trying to elevate their families out of poverty. Do your job. Right? That's a message not just for Harsin, but for any coach. Do your job, man. College football coach, I picked the wrong profession, man. You could do a bad job, get fired, and get $21 million.
Would never have to work again in your life.
Right.
Man.
And live off the interest. I mean, that's not an opportunity that most people have. And when you hear the stories of these guys who come out of who against all odds made it to even make it to college. Right. just to make it to college, and some of them only because of their God-given talent. Give these guys a chance. Your number one job is to be a developer of men. Help turn these boys into men and just give them a shot, man. And if they don't get to play at the next level, hopefully they will go pro at something other than sports.
Right.
Give them that chance too. Graduate your players. Graduate your players, because listen, only a small percentage of them are even going to get the chance to play at the next level. But like we interviewed Carl Stewart, he's a lawyer. He just passed his bar exam. Devin is an investment banker, right? We've had some smart and talented guys that have come through here, and they benefited from a system that gave them a chance not only to play football, but to succeed beyond that. Yeah. Ronnie Brown's doing well. Jason Campbell is in the media. These guys, found things other than football to be successful at. Cadillac's back coaching, now being a shaper of minds. Caddy, give these guys the same chance you got. And that's what sucks when I look at this draft. I'm just like, man, in a different system, does Stove get more looks? And are we talking about him on this list? Maybe, maybe not. Because there is a measure of that's within their control.
Yeah.
They still have to put in the work.
Injuries are still going to be the great equalizer all the time.
Yeah. But outside of the things that are outside of their control, which is a lot of things that the coach controls, give these guys a shot, man. Give them a shot. Don't play favorites.
Yeah.
Give the job to the hardest working guy. Give the job to the guy who shows up, does what he's supposed to do, goes to class, stays out of trouble, busts ass for his teammates. That's what we need to see more of. But what I hope is gone is all the favoritism. Now, I'm not claiming to know that it was or wasn't happening, but it damn sure seemed like it.
Yeah.
I don't think the best guy always made the field. And this year, what I hope to see is that maybe there are some surprise names nobody heard about that turn into SEC stars because the hardest working guy is going to win the day and then get his chance at his NFL dream and not miss that because he was buried on the depth chart behind some knucklehead who squandered his shot.
Yeah.
We just have to do better, man. Listen, what Saban is selling up the road is real easy. Come to Alabama and go to the NFL. He doesn't even have to promise guys that they're going to start. He didn't need to. Mm-hmm. He's promising competition. That's clear. If you go there, you're going to have to be the best because he's always going to play the best. He's proven that. And I can guarantee you, if you come here and you play, you're the best because that's all we play.
Yeah.
We need to start some of that.
Yeah.
So this draft, man, it kind of set me. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, man, I'm looking at three names This should be first and second round picks. Seth Williams should have been all SEC, man. There's no way we should be talking about him potentially in the 6th round. Despite whatever I feel about, his shortcomings, he had the potential to be a first or second rounder. But what he lacked were the opportunities and the leadership to show that. Same with Schwartz, man. Elite speed. How can you be the fastest guy in the country and get an at best 3rd round grade? What? Come on, man. Sherwood, right? 2nd rounder, easy. Britt, come on, middle rounder. We got to start doing better for kids. So, I'm just like, I didn't mean to get on a soapbox about it, but I'm just like, man, I hope Harsin changes the culture. Blow this up. Whatever it was that we were watching before, blow it up. Start this thing over, man. and get this program on the right track. We deserve that as fans. We got over 100 people here on a Wednesday night in the off season talking about it because we all give a damn. If we didn't, you wouldn't be making $5 million a year. So throw us a bone back, man, and just develop. We don't need championships in year one. That's not what I'm asking for. Give us a shot. Stop losing to our rivals. Right? Beat LSU at LSU. 1-3, maybe. Every once in a while. I know it's a hard place to go play.
Yeah.
Catch up to Alabama some. Right? And start competing and win back the damn state. I am so sick of the best players in our state being automatics for Alabama. There was a time where it was, I mean, listen, man, does anybody remember the battle over Kerryon Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
In state, man, there was a time where we were winning the players in state. He turned out to be a pretty good player for us. We're in one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country. Win it. Win half of it. But just giving all the players to Saban doesn't work. So you start with putting a better product on the field. And next year, when we're sitting here talking about this draft, we're talking about guys who made the most of their opportunity because the coach gave them a chance. Schwartz deserved a chance, man. Seth Williams deserved better leadership. And for the guys that are still left, they deserve the same. So we're talking about more of them in this conversation next year. Bo deserves a chance. He was not going to get it from Gus. I hope that he gets it from Harsin. Right? Everybody behind him deserves a chance. Tank is good. He's that dude. He's going to make it. But still, man, don't make it hard on him. You know, give these guys a chance to live their dreams out because you're living yours. I'm done.
Well, the doors of the War Rapport show are open. May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. Yikes. Y'all got anything else? Anyone other than Mike G got anything to say?
Hold on. Can I talk about chopping over the pro?
Yeah, please.
we got chopping up with the pro coming with Chris Todd next Thursday. You don't want to miss this, man. Ike and Chris, friend of the War Report, will be breaking down A-Day film and QB play. So they're going to break it down all. Listen, spoiler alert, we probably won't do any of Grant Loy's plays. But if you want to see us break down Bo and Demetrius and the little bit that we saw of Trey Lindsey, then come on through next Thursday. That will be insider only. If you miss it live as an insider, you can go back and rewatch those chop it up segments. And other than that, again, you can become an insider. Hit that join button on our homepage. $5.99, is 2 triple cheeseburgers. That's it. 2 triple cheeseburgers to get access to these segments, man. It's definitely worth it. And we're adding value for you guys, for you insiders in the weeks to come. So our content is only getting better. We are not resting on our laurels over here, man. We are building an empire, and you guys, our community, are part of it. So to the extent that you guys support us, we appreciate that greatly. And we're hoping to be able to debut some things here soon that you're really going to be excited about. Our GoFundMe, you can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. This is a great way to support our content, and also our merch store. So, if you just want to get something in return for what you're giving, right, this is a great way to do it. This is quality merch. I'm wearing it. Ike's wearing it. Caesar's wearing it. Brian's wearing it on the inside. But we love our merch store. I'm very proud of this stuff. And for those of you who don't know, Isaac designs all the graphics for the show. Right. So I say, hey, Ike, can you take a gas pump and a sun and put them together with a circle and a slash and make a logo? And this dude will do it, and it will look good. So our Get Your Weight Up logo is something is quickly turned into one of my favorites. So we're putting that on merch, and we got some other things coming. We have some excellent members of our community. James Coleman, War Eagle, is designing stuff for us to put on merch. I love that. I love the community and the partnership there. And we have some Bo Jackson Kansas City Royal cards that we're going to be giving away. So if you are a diehard Auburn fan and you're an insider, you will have a chance to get that. We're going to let you guys know how to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Indeed. And guys, please be sure before you disconnect from us, please share this on social media. If you're Facebook, share it there. If you're on Twitter, please add us at The War Report, hashtag TWR War Room, and hashtag Get Your Weight Up. You can also use those hashtags on Facebook if you're on that platform. Be sure, as always, to like and subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already, guys. Again, I already gave it at The War Report on Twitter as well as IG. We are TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.